Welcome to the Valhalla Filmcast. I am Bryce Thompson. I'm here with Cody Ryrie and Brian Hammond.
Hey everyone.
And today we're trying something different. If you clicked on it, you're interested. But this is a commentary of the Mad Max Fury Road Black and Chrome edition. Something new we're trying out. If it sucks, let us know. We won't do it again. If it's good, let us know, and we'll try it again. You'll probably hear people eating.
We are watching a movie after all.
And so, excuse their disgusting chewing. But other than that, we hope you enjoy it. And we'll let you know when to start if you are watching it along with us. If you aren't and you're just listening to it like a podcast, we'll try and describe what's going on a little bit as best we can. Try not to ruin the movie for us either. Because we are selfish. But let's do this.
So go ahead and press start after the rated R logo, right?
Yeah.
When it goes to black.
Right when the big thing happens. All right, go ahead and press play.
You should be seeing the Warner Brothers logo right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. It gives me chills every time.
That sounds good.
Oh, it sounds so good.
I think it's interesting. The movie starts. It's such a visual movie with no dialogue, but it starts with no screen, no picture, and lots of dialogue.
Yeah.
So it's the one time in the film when it relies on audio more than visual.
Such a cool image there.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest of, like, the film. Just that opening shot.
The black and white really sells the distances of those long shots. Yeah.
I'm just realizing, if you're listening to this, how boring this is going to be if we're not talking more, guys.
I think most commentaries are recorded with the sound off for the people who are doing it, too. Usually.
That makes sense.
I'm going to say it feels like a flashback, the whole movie, because normally it's got the effects of a color movie, of the technology of modern, but you think black and white, you associate with either older films or with flashbacks, and so it's like,
you feel like when's the color coming?
Yeah.
It seems grainier too.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's got to be, you just notice it more, right? They're not adding grain digitally enhancing it, are they?
It's easier to read details and stuff of that because my eye isn't distracted by color.
That's true.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what things pop in black and white that you miss in color.
Well, already in this scene, I'm noticing more that Tom Hardy's doing with his face. You know, it's easier to focus on his expressions when I don't see the color around him.
Oh, I forgot the soundtrack. It's been
so
a while
amazing.
since I've watched this.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, this part's I really like this part, how he's like almost escaping, you know? And then he just gets distracted and stuff. It's really interesting and neat.
Yeah, it's true. It's the reason he doesn't get away a lot of these times is because he's so distracted by
the people.
The people that he's, yeah. And I can tell the kind of the motion speed up here in the editing is a little more intense in black and white for some reason.
Speaking of editing, I thought it'd be fun to throw in some trivia every once in a while, you know?
Yeah.
And specifically about editing, Margaret Sixel, she's the one that edited, had roughly 470 hours of footage to edit. It took her 3 months just to watch it all.
Wow.
That puts it in perspective.
Now that scene's really cool, I think, right there, because when he blasts through there, it's really orange, you know?
That's
but
true.
Now, it looks really good still. Oh.
I'm noticing textures like on the logo.
Yeah, that gets missed in the color.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at the textures on her clothes there and her, you know, there's all kinds of
the burn
tactile
on her neck,
stuff
the scar
that gets lost in the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're so distracted by color sometimes you miss those subtle, you know, details.
Well, the War Boys really pop. I mean, they do in the color version too, but in here they still really pop. Ew.
Ugh. You're grossed out as we are if you're watching this. Maybe I ought to throw in a few references to people that aren't watching along, that are just listening.
Yeah, Max has already been captured, and now they're getting the war rig hooked up for Charlize Theron and character Imperator Furiosa to take, and now we're seeing Immortan Joe get dressed and coated in flour or something.
For some reason, I think Darth Vader and him exist in the same universe. Like, right? They look.
And here comes the less than subtle death as a man's crotch symbol.
Yeah. That's the coolest face mask I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like ever.
It's so He-Man-esque.
Oh,
like,
man.
Doesn't it look like Skeletor or something?
Yeah.
There's that symbol that they do with their fingers.
V8.
Oh, that's so.
Yeah.
That's like the coolest thing. That's what I love about this movie is all the little subtle things that they've thrown in. That's a real cool scene right there. Just before Immortan speaks. Looks really neat.
Boy, you can't hear very good, huh? Can you guys hear his voice good?
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe it's your headphones.
Maybe.
Is it... We just heard the Immortan Joe talk about riding eternal on the highways of Valhalla, which is where the name of our podcast comes from.
It is.
Yeah.
It's kind of where we came up from.
We got our name from a sadistic warlord who enslaves women.
Here we go, the Valhalla Filmcast.
I wonder how many people think it's from Viking.
Well, he got it from Vikings, I guess. So
Yeah, I like Vikings, and
gosh, I just can't. I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but we're looking at all the masses, the unwashed masses below. Talk about texture. Everybody looks
it looks
grimy, and
It's amazing that it actually looks better
yeah.
than with the color. Like it's very interesting.
I seem to be noticing some of the CG backgrounds a little more in the black and white. I guess because the color distracts usually. Although that looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's CG, the wide shot there of the whole palace.
So I'm sure there's a swath of people out there that are like, why in black and white?
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on that? Like why? I mean, is it justified?
There's something that makes it, well, like George Miller said in the introduction, something that makes it more iconic. When you get rid of the color, not only does the texture pop, but it becomes this, if it can be, more of a barren wasteland. Like, it just seems like you have these, these solitary figures in the middle of a world that's going to swallow them up. When something about the color reduces that feeling to me. This feels, I don't know what's the word, more epic. I know that's not the word I'm really looking for, but it feels bigger somehow.
Yeah.
In black and white.
It'll be interesting to go back and watch it in color again after watching it in black and white. I feel like I'm noticing more little things.
See Gastown in the distance in this shot as they're driving there. I can see the flames going up and whatever else easier. It's like...
Yeah. You can notice them signaling.
They're signaling, which I didn't really notice before, yeah.
Yeah, lots easier. Hey, look, is that Nux right there? Or is that just a... No. I don't know. It looked like it was Nux right there. But I never noticed that.
See, shots like this, the really wide vistas, I think they benefit from black and white. They seem bigger somehow when there's not color around. Well, you look at the War Boys' scarification on them too.
Yes.
That really pops in the black and white. And that shot from the front of the war rig where you just see the road, that was the one in 3D that was so amazing when I was in the theater. There are a lot of ways to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Regular black and white, 3D, 4K.
And yet there's still no definitive edition. Even the high octane does not come with the Blu-ray 3D, you said, right?
That's true, it does not, no. Although, this is George Miller's preferred version, is the black and chrome.
Yes.
Yeah, really, Gastown really pops there. I mean, I can see the towers and the smoke, and I never really noticed that before. And I can see this older war boy's armpit hair much easier in black and white. It really pops.
Well, there's just a lot, like, the little small details pop so much more, which you wouldn't think they would.
Well, it's such an oversaturated movie. I mean, that's the effect they were going for with the colors, but taking all that away, you notice breasts. If you're not watching, this is the milking scene, the infamous milking scene. That was perfect,
you and
right?
the Johnson and breasts and everything.
Hey, I am not a pervert. Kind of a creepy mini-me.
Whoa.
His eyes.
His eyes all bloodshot and stuff. I remember this scene where they're growing the plants was very green, and that's why it stood out. This, it kind of just
blends
in. Yeah.
It's hard to tell exactly what it is at first glance.
Yeah. It's interesting, this set, which is where the wives are kept, looks kind of like the Thunderdome in the third film, Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. Maybe a little callback there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Shoot him! Shoot him! She doesn't shoot him. She could have shot him like 5 times by now.
How anticlimactic would that be? The movie just ends.
All the writing on Miss Kitty really stands out too in the black and white. We get our first view of Nux here. Oh, and then here comes the
war rig.
The war rig that has the drums and the flame-throwing guitar on it.
The doof wagon.
The doof wagon, thank you. Yeah.
With the doof warrior on the front of it.
You know, it occurs to me that some of these war boys are like, 7 and 8 years old.
Yeah.
Can you imagine filming this when you're 7 or 8, getting all dressed up as a war boy? And
it'd be pretty cool.
Here comes Immortan Joe. And
right? Oh, his rig is so cool.
I think it's interesting, this deification of car culture.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they all have their own wheels, their own steering wheels that they put in a pile that they worship, kind of like an altar. But the cars are interchangeable.
Yeah.
I guess because the idea is they crash so many cars, maybe, that you just pop the wheel off after it's been crashed and you can put it on a different one. I don't know.
Hey, he's from Insidious.
He's one of the ghost hunter guys. Yeah. The doctor in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You notice when Nux headbutts the other guy, there's a frame or two of just white flash right when he headbutts him.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're out on the road after the wives here. It's our first real shot of the whole armada. And Max is complaining on the front of the vehicle.
This right here is what made this movie so popular. This doof warrior right here. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guitar riff is just amazing sounding too.
You know, one thing the color does add is when that flamethrower comes out, flame comes out of the guitar. That's a real eye pop.
That's the one. This is the one job away from that. Is that part there?
Oh, I didn't notice this, that Nux has his name
on his
brake pedal, yeah. The motion too of the camera and the vehicles, it feels more like we're moving.
Yeah.
In the black and white.
Yeah.
I think that the black and white version especially would be hurt by over CGI. Because the things I'm noticing are the things that are really tactile and really there. Mm-hmm. And I think that, say you took, I'm not ragging on Marvel, but say you took Avengers and made it black and white. I don't think that you would get much out of it. In fact, I think it would look worse. CG Hulk and the CG whatever. Here, the fact that it's a real car in a real desert, that's what makes it pop in black and white.
Yeah, and that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
Perfect segue into the next trivia. Over 80% of the effects seen in the film are real practical effects, stunts, makeup, and sets. CGI was used sparingly, mainly for the landscape. We talked about not too long ago about watching The Mist in black and white. How that's used to kind of hide the effects of the CGI.
Yeah.
As well, because it does look a little dated, the purpley just kind of, the monsters all look kind of,
CG.
Yeah.
And not good CG.
Star Trek Next Generation.
That's right, yes.
CGI, right?
I tell you, we picked this movie to do our first commentary on. And I don't know if there's a harder movie to talk during.
No kidding.
Oh my gosh, some of this stuff, that's insane. I can really appreciate the editing in this scene too. It's one of the hardest things about action filmmaking is keeping a sense of space, direction, all those things. And it was already masterfully put together, but by stripping away the color,
it's
hard to talk with them. You can really tell where every car is and who's in pursuit of who, and not that it was hard to follow before, but it's just really amazing the sense of geography they keep in all these action scenes.
Yeah, it all works very well.
Yeah. George Miller's wife, she can edit. So
good job.
She won the Oscar for this, so.
For having to sit through 437 hours, I mean, yeah.
I like how Tom Hardy seems more annoyed than anything. A normal person would be terrified they're going through this, and I don't know, he almost seems just mildly bemused by the whole thing. I like the aesthetic of, they use a lot of everyday things too. You noticed Furiosa, when she wanted to put the gas pedal down, it was one of those foot measuring things from Foot Locker. And the face mask is made out of a garden spade, I think, or something like that.
Which is true to a post-apocalyptic world. You're going to get really creative.
Now, the gasoline and the tires and the whatever. But
right here is one of my most favorite parts of the entire movie.
The first self-sacrifice, or
the guy gets
martyrdom,
shot in the face, and he uses his chrome paint. Oh, that's so cool. So hardcore.
You can't see the face paint as much. Well, there you go.
There you can, yeah.
Yeah, that is so hardcore. And they all yell.
Oh, and you're doing a little prayer afterwards. Yeah. I like there's a whole theme of religious extremism running through the picture.
Yeah.
And I think it's the 40s. I like Nux's character arc probably more than anybody else, because he starts off super devout. You saw him a minute ago when Immortan Joe just looked at him.
Yep.
And it was, the be-all, end-all.
Well, he does have the most extreme character arc, from beginning to end for sure.
Oh, definitely.
But then he's willing to give his life for Immortan Joe and for Valhalla. And then by the end, he's willing to give his life for other people.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's switched. He's been able to channel that zealotness, whatever you call it, zealotry, into something more productive. it really echoes with a lot of things we see today. You know, disenfranchised young men are the ones that are most likely to go into Islamic extremism, or the guy who shot up the Charleston church, the African church. He was totally lonely young guy who didn't have a purpose, and he found one in extremism.
Yeah.
So you really see that here.
Well, doesn't that, just like you're saying, that makes sense about why all the war boys are around that age.
Yeah,
in this not really war-torn, but apocalyptic world, they don't really have anyone else.
It's kind of cool how most of the vehicles are from a different time period as well that's more conducive to black and white. Like,
true,
there
yeah.
are some newer vehicles, but the majority are, like, older vehicles, you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just from this, the final chase scene is going to be insane.
Well, now we're headed into the sandstorm, which, wow, does it really benefit from black and white, I think.
Yeah, because that was like...
It looks real.
Like something out of the Bible, you know? It's like... Wow, yeah, it doesn't look CG at all.
No.
I mean, it looks a little CG. It doesn't look bad in the color version.
Which
but,
a
man,
giant
they really
sandstorm,
sell it in that. Yeah.
it looks good.
He's such...
God.
I mean, look at that's the wide shot that we're looking at right now of the whole sandstorm. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like something out of Ben-Hur or the Ten Commandments, you know?
It looks really amazing. That looks really cool. It looks almost cooler in black and white than
I
in
think
color.
it does.
I think it does.
You're seeing like the lightning inside of it too a lot more than I do in the color version.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh.
She punched that guy and a bunch of blood flew off his face, which I never saw before.
I never noticed.
Yeah.
That look of panic on Nuck's face right there, that's cool.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I think the performances benefit from black and white.
Yeah, I'll agree.
There's an interesting thing that Orson Welles said. He said all great performances are in black and white. And there were a few exceptions to the rule. And really, it helps you focus on what they're doing, the small things with their face that you don't notice with color.
I like how he grabs his boot. That's funny.
Wow, once they're inside the sandstorm, the light, where it's the lightning flashing and it's really dark, that contrast really comes across.
It really
it
works.
does, the black and chrome.
It reminds me of, like, this is going to sound ridiculous, but like Wizard of Oz. Like,
yeah.
It almost pops more than the color.
Yeah.
The debris and everything flying around. Look at that.
One of my favorite musical cues here too.
This scene is awesome in black and white.
Yeah.
Because this was one of the lacking scenes in the whole movie because of all the CG and everything.
But it really somehow hides the CG in black and white.
It
does.
works so well.
And is it weird that I don't know if it's the music or what, but that for some reason I'm kind of touched when the War Boys give their life for Immortan Joe. Like,
yeah,
it's a horrible thing to give your life to, but for some reason it's still like kind of moving. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of crazy right there. I kind of maybe this is just me, but he's like, "What a day! What a lovely day!" Because those guys just went to Valhalla.
Yeah.
It's so intense.
So many people getting to go. Yeah. One day.
He's like, "This is a good day." Oh, it's so cool.
I'm trying to think how many times Nux tries to kill himself in this movie and is unsuccessful.
He's like, no, I'm not going to die.
And I tell you, I in like, the work that must have gone into, like, okay, Max is chained to Nux on this side. Okay, so that means when he pulls this chain, his arm goes back this way.
Yeah.
And then when they get done, the door is still in between them. And then their whole fight scene where they're still chained together. You know, the logistics of figuring that out is insane.
I'm going to say that I like the silver spray paint better in color, I think.
Ah, interesting.
That is interesting.
I remember at this moment when the flare fades out, the storm ends, and you cut back to Max waking up in the sand. In the theater, I remember I felt tired already. I was like,
My goodness.
There's more?
You can see shadows so much better. I mean, the shadows of every individual grain of sand.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it gets lost in the color.
I also am noticing Tom Hardy's nipples a lot more in the black and white version. They really come through.
That's just because you're creepy.
Oh, there they are. It's amazing how many things have echoes in the film. So Nux trying to kill himself over and over and over again, and then finally when he found something worthwhile, being able to do that for them. Max having his blood taken from him forcibly, and then at the end of the film, he gives it voluntarily.
That's very interesting.
So many, set up callback throughout the film. And those little things tell you about what the character's gone through in the film, where they are. I also remember when he's trying to get free from Nux, and he almost blows his arm off with the shotgun, but then it doesn't work because of the sand. I remember in the theater, right before it happened,
everyone was
went,
like, oh!
Yeah.
He's trying to bite his
chew
fingers
it off, yeah.
Oh.
Also, this next moment coming up, the reveal of the wives, always got to laugh in the theater.
It'd be interesting to see it in black and white, like how the water looks and everything.
Yeah. It's interesting. The color seemed to give the landscape some kind of life, and now in black and white, everything looks really, really dead.
Yeah, it does.
It looks more dead than it did in the color.
Like there's nothing.
Yeah.
At all.
I think that's a good thing, though.
Yeah,
right?
no, yeah, absolutely.
Now, if this was just in slow motion, it would have a completely different feel to it.
This is the Girls Gone Wild Valhalla edition.
Yeah, I noticed nipples too. All right, that's my one inappropriate comment.
At least mine was about Tom Hardy. I mean, everyone can understand that.
What I find interesting is that they feel the need to bathe in this world, you know?
Yeah.
It's true, they're washing off their old life before they go on to their new one. See? Deep.
That was a little too artsy-fartsy for that.
And again, every time I see water and it's just pouring out like that in this movie, turn it off.
No kidding.
You're wasting water, woman.
The little like scars writing things on their face really pop.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know what those mean.
If they're just for effect, or
if they like
have some significance.
Yeah.
Knowing them, they must have some kind of
It
significance.
has to, right? With like Immortan Joe, he's all about symbolism.
I do notice that, like, the red-haired wife was always easier to keep track of.
Yeah, I know.
And now I'm like, oh, she's one of the lighter ones, I guess.
Crap, which one?
And you can already see the war band or whatever in the background now. I saw it in the last shot, which is earlier than I ever saw it in the color version.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
But
that's when you'd see it in the color.
No, yeah, I saw it in the shot before that.
Interesting.
Interesting.
You really see the heat coming off the desert, too.
Did you ever notice that they have Immortan Joe's brand on the back of their necks as well?
Yeah.
I never noticed that.
See, this fight between Furiosa and Max, and then you have, like I said, he's chained to Nux. Just the logistics of making this work in real life and then filming it in a way that makes sense and it all works. That's the kind of stuff that puts this movie above other action movies.
Yeah.
Because in other action movies, you just have two people fighting and it'd be lots of shaky cam. And so that they could hide not really thinking it through, you know. In this, everything's thought through.
Yeah, it has to be or it won't make sense, right?
Yeah. There's no laziness here. This is all a lot of hard work in the filmmaking. And I think that comes from having an 80-something-year-old filmmaker. I mean, he's trained classically in a way through making years and decades of movies. He doesn't rely on kind of the modern shortcuts.
Yeah.
See, here again, the chain comes into effect. It's not a hindrance. It's something he can use to make the fight more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't exclusive to Black and White, but man, it sure makes my arm hurt when I see her beat people with their nub.
Yeah, I
right?
just noticed that when she punches him in the face.
Yeah, it like makes me hurt.
See, again, that chain, I just can't imagine the hours that were put into figuring this out.
Well, that's already passed, but I really liked when Furiosa tackled him and, what's his name, Mux?
Nux?
Yeah,
I don't know their names very good. Anyways, when he goes flying forward,
Yeah.
you know, that was 5 minutes ago, but it was really cool.
Oh, I love that.
the three shots
the
in the sand
noise
next
that
to
it
her head.
sounds. Oh, it sounds so cool. And you have the awesome guitar in the end, right after that. I don't know if it's just because it's probably because I'm wearing headphones right now, but the noise, the sound, it sounds so much better. I might have to watch all movies with headphones.
With headphones on.
Oh, I do. That's all I do.
I mean,
watch headphones.
the sound is so much better.
It's like you're in a theater every time.
Yeah, that's cool.
I do it because I lay next to my wife and I don't want to bother her or the family, but it does give that theater sound, you know, for pretty cheap.
Oh,
I also like in this scene the single-mindedness of Nux. Like,
Yeah.
his worldview is Immortan Joe is God, and he's just confused when not everybody else thinks that way too.
yeah.
You know, Max
He's
is
like,
like, I want my jacket back and I'm getting out of here. That's so confusing. You've just done God a favor and he wants to
Yeah.
reward you. Where are you going? You
He's
know,
like, you can get more than a jacket, bro.
it just tells you so much about where he is, you know?
I never noticed the first wife, Splendid. She's just like so distraught when he takes off and the thing. I never noticed that. I'm noticing so much more.
Well, and I said the performances are really helped.
Yeah.
Look, she still got sand all over one side of her face, from the fight. I also would like to go back to the. We're about to kick it again here. The what do you call those? The chastity belts.
Yeah.
So usual chastity belts are just to prevent any kind of hanky panky, but in Morton Joe's, it's possible, but there's teeth there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, sure if you want to, but it's an even more like grotesque version of something that's horrible from the Middle Ages already. And it sounds to me like all of Tom Hardy's dialogue is like dubbed over. Like
It does seem that way.
like they were. I remember hearing that they were searching for the voice, and maybe they didn't get it on set like they wanted it, so they redid it.
Yeah, that can be.
Which I wouldn't have noticed unless I was wearing headphones. And also I guess everything he says is such a low volume.
Grumbly and
yeah.
I really like her explanation that makes him get going. That's really good. It makes so much sense, though.
Do you remember the whole before this movie came out, and the critics had seen it, but it hadn't come out yet, and there was this big push by like these pro-man websites to not go see Mad Max because it was a hidden feminist parable, and it was going to destroy the rights of men everywhere.
I like that. That's what makes him. He's like
he wants
what?
the thing off his face.
You
He's a
need
very
that on my
practical
face?
man.
Yes. Yeah, I do remember that. How they're like, don't see Mad Max.
There's
so silly.
So, Abby Lee, she's the blonde, the one with the blonde hair. She's Australian, and
the
she
crazy one,
right there. I'm not sure. This is like rewatching it for me, like a first time watch.
Well,
I mean, I saw it last year in the theater.
Because the only one from Australia is the crazy one. So, but yeah, what were you gonna say about her?
She's just one of my new favorite actresses.
Have you seen her in other stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Best year of 2016, or best film of 2016.
What?
We'll talk about it.
Okay,
later.
all right. And can I also say, if I had a harem, I wouldn't pick favorites. That's cruel. They would be all my favorites. So
no, you're an
if that
equal
ever
opportunity
happens,
harem owner.
Yeah, exactly. If this ever happens and it falls to me to be that person, I'm not going to pick a favorite. That's just cruel.
You say that, I bet you will. That's Abby Lee. Yeah, the one on the right, the blonde, crazy.
Everybody needs to feel loved. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
I guess.
I just don't like him. I mean, the harem thing, yeah, that's not good. But the real killer was when he picked a favorite. It's like picking your favorite kid. You just don't do that. I love that moment where he snaps for somebody to grab something for him. He's so nonverbal.
Yeah. Well, how much of that's because he's a solitary man? I mean,
who's he going to talk to? Yeah.
Yeah, you probably lose that. I mean, if you think about Robert Zemeckis' film Castaway, Tom Hanks.
He's very nonverbal when he gets back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just part of being away from civilization. So it's really believable, as far as that
like when
goes.
someone lives in like foreign lands, for a long time, they forget like English because they haven't spoken it for so long.
I also like the fact that when Max gets in the rig with the wives and with Furiosa, it's not this immediate, oh, we're all friends and we have this common purpose. There's some real tension there for a while. Because if you lived in this world, you would not easily and quickly trust anybody, I don't think.
Oh, no.
Everybody's out to eat everybody else, so... And Am I crazy, or is the red-haired one like Elvis Presley's granddaughter?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to my point about the anti-man movie. It doesn't feel anti-man to me. There's very strong female characters. There's very strong male characters.
Well, probably the whole male character that's keeping a harem and, using them as a commodity for their milk. And, it is kind of, he's a bad dude. He's a bad man.
But, I mean, we can't boycott every movie that has a bad male character. I mean, there'd be nothing left to watch. I think George Miller really lides that line of... I think it's the one thing I would regret is that because of what kind of movie it is and how it's marketed, I think fewer women probably saw it. And it's kind of a shame because I think it's something that if anybody gave a chance, female, male, whatever, they could really get something out of.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I love the movie, though, so...
We're biased. And here, finally, I don't know what minute mark we're at. We're somewhere around the 45-minute mark, and Max has had a thing on his face the whole time. And it finally comes off. So if you're Tom Hardy, you have 8 lines of dialogue, you're the star, and your face is covered for half of it, It's like Bane all over again. Except Bane couldn't shut up. I like the fact that they decided to be merciful here and not kill him, which would have been a fine decision, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends up he saves the rest of them when he crashes the rig at the end. That was...
The big question.
Yes. And we don't know.
No.
But I think it's men. I hate men. They're awful. And I think they killed the world.
Which, I mean...
I guess there is
like
that whole... There's a skull on Morton Joe's crotch. There is. We went back to that.
I mean, we just talked about how the men were like, oh, don't see the movie. It's bad. Negative men. But, I mean, look at who has started wars.
That's true. The Sewing Society of Boston did not start the Civil War. That's true. I liked that moment a minute ago. I never noticed it before in the color version. Again, performances. When they're like screaming at Nux and about to drop him out, that Max is looking around like, what the crap?
Yeah,
like he has this real comedic moment for a second. He doesn't know quite what's going on. I think it took him over a year to make this too.
This movie?
Yeah, like filming alone took over a year in Namibia.
Well, it was supposed to be released in like 2012 or something like that. And so like post-production took a long time and issues that way, but
it must have been kind of with all that footage, like you were talking about Brian, that takes 8 months to watch it, and you're there for over a year. I can forgive Tom Hardy for thinking, what is this? Is this going to amount to anything?
Yeah.
And then publicly apologizing after he saw the film.
I mean, I would too. It's amazing.
And you're with the guy whose last 2 movies were Happy Feet 1 and 2, which are not bad, but I mean, come on, it's very different. Built in a computer, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Mad Max isn't necessarily, the other ones aren't necessarily super popular.
No, they're more cult films.
Yeah. And so you're like, this guy's insane. I'm trapped in this desert.
Well, in the other Mad Max films, which to be fair, I saw after Fury Road.
Yes.
I I think I would have liked them better had I grown up with them. I appreciated them. I thought they were well made, but there's a lot of limitations by shooting in Australia, which does not look as apocalyptic as Africa in some places. And just with the limits of technology, both stunt technology and computer stuff, the little bit they did use. But even that being said, you can appreciate the craft of it. However, I look at Fury Road and I think this is probably what he was imagining all along.
Yeah, I agree. You can tell this is, and he even said that the black and white of Mad Max,
of Road Warrior,
Road Warrior was the what he thought it should be, and so this is kind of like everything coming together.
Well, and on this disc, there's an introduction by George Miller where he talks about it, and it showed several scenes from Road Warrior in black and white.
Yeah,
and I was like, let's do it.
That's good.
Because one of the distracting things about Road Warrior is everybody looks like they're from like an 80s music video.
Yeah, that's true.
And it really toned that down the little bit that I saw. And everybody's wearing chaps that are just showing off everything. So I think that would help in black and white as well.
They're trying to repopulate the world, I guess. Yeah, these dirt bike guys, they're way cool, I think.
Gasoline.
I wonder what the difference between gasoline and guzzling is. I'm seriously asking.
Is it? I don't know.
I think they're synonymous, aren't they? You think?
I think so.
I like the horns on these guys too.
Yeah, they're cool looking.
It's kind of a hint that she's going to have the baby, which doesn't really go anywhere. It's just to add some more suspense to the moment.
Ooh,
He sure got up in the cab really quick, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Oh man,
it's always a good idea to shoot at
gasoline.
I love this cue right here.
Yes, yeah. This is called I think it's Brothers in Arms in the
something like
on
that
the soundtrack. Yeah. One of the best cues on there. And all the big, like just now they just dropped all the rocks to block it. Like all that kind of stuff works better in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think the general rule is that it hides CGI effects way
it seems
better.
To, yeah. See, this is the moment where they really start bonding as a group, I think. Is the first moment he gets in and then he goes out to start the wheels back again and lets them in there. That's a moment of trust.
Yeah.
And then she leaves him in the war rig when she goes out to negotiate. That's her moment of trust. And then when he does what she asked him to do, then they're just handing... You notice the guns, he takes all the guns away. And in this moment, he starts handing them back out.
Yeah.
So that's a moment of, okay, we're a group. That's, trust has been established.
One interesting thing is there's no common denominator with them. I mean, before, there was a clear-cut...
Yes.
But now they're being attacked by two different groups. It's like kind of like they're having to pull together.
I do like the guy from the bullet farm literally draped in bullets.
In bullets,
yes.
His teeth are bullets.
That has to be so heavy for that old man to hold up.
Right?
If they were real.
And I'm sure it's a comment on one of them is oil, one of them's guns and bullets, and one's women.
Milk.
Water.
Yeah.
You see the editing here. I mean, we follow her eye line over, we follow his eye line over. It's very classical, but it's very well done. You're getting a lot of reactions, so you feel like you're in there with them.
Yeah.
You know? And it's amazing. You watch the special effects or the behind the scenes. They're just driving the war rig and they're leaping motorcycles over it and dropping bombs on it. Like there's no CGI there. It's just they're really doing all that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And I love this idea that you can do this to put the fire out. She puts down the plow. You know, it's just smart. It's just smart stuff one after another. And then when the plow comes back up, you notice that they've closed off the engine intakes. And we get a shot of that opening back up.
Oh, it sounds
so
so
smart.
Cool.
It's so cool. It's so well thought out. And I have a thing, I guess growing up in Kentucky and being from Idaho now, nothing cooler than loading a gun and then shooting it. Like, it's just so cool.
Well, just this, like, how he's using that handgun, it just looks so cool.
Yeah, it does. The way, I love that he loads the rifle with one hand while he's driving.
Yeah, and he's
passes
like,
it up.
He's like, take it.
And here you're getting some personality and some character from the wives. The one who's pregnant is disgusted by the gun and can't reload it, and hands it to the tougher one to reload. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's telling you little things about each wife. They're not a faceless group, which is how Immortan Joe sees them. You know, they're not characters. You actually get character moments.
Ugh.
I love those zooming close-ups.
Of Immortan Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very ominous.
Yes. Look at the cloud the explosion's making, or the shadow on the mountains. Never noticed that.
I like how the dirt bike guys, they're like, okay, we're done.
Not worth it anymore, yeah.
Yep.
Well, because they're motivated by gain, and Immortan Joe is out of his brain. You know,
Yeah.
It's worth everything.
Yep.
Well, that is his gasoline.
Yeah, that's true.
Splendid. And that guy sacrificed himself
For Immortan Joe, yeah.
Hardcore.
And Immortan Joe doesn't even notice that somebody was in the way. Really, it's just
like,
you know.
Hey. Oh, it's so hardcore.
I'll go.
I love he's playing emotion there too.
Yeah.
It's not like, I want to kill people. It's
yes.
I'm so touched.
Yep.
It's just so moving. Yeah. And then it doesn't work out.
It's so good. So good. Mediocre.
For some reason, mediocre is more of a it's more cutting than something worse.
Yeah. He's so heartbroken.
And this jump to get in front, that's insane.
I really like how they have this sped up parts too.
Yeah. It's weird that's an Australian filmmaker thing.
Yeah.
Because Baz Luhrmann's constantly speeding stuff up.
Yeah.
In his movies.
And slowing down.
I'm afraid that would break your hand.
Yeah.
He needs that hand for the rest of the movie. So. And again, this is another thing, you lose your steering wheel, so you got to get your pipe wrench out. There's always a thought behind it.
There has to be some symbolism in that too, though,
Yeah.
because they have these very elaborate wheels, and all of a sudden it's just this pipe wrench.
I like it. Just in that part, before they hit the rock, you can see Immortan Joe's like freaking out. He's like,
Yeah, 'cause it's
splendid.
about to-
He's like, get out of the way,
But it's not concern in like a normal way, though.
Well, that emotion's really appropriate in telling there because I mean, they just lost a sister. I mean, they're like sisters, right?
Yeah. Sister wives.
Yeah.
And this is where you see that the wives have been shielded from a lot of this world.
Yeah.
I mean, the things they've endured, I'm sure, have been terrible, but they're not used to people dying around them.
Well,
they're insulated from all that.
And they're obviously used to bathing. I mean, because we have them trying to get clean. So they do have some luxuries of life, you know, even though they are essentially slaves in a harem.
I find it very interesting that they've decided to open his oxygen mask.
When he's holding the wife, and he's such in distress. Yeah, I didn't even notice that until you brought it up one time.
It's very interesting to me.
As precious as fuel is, they sure do waste it. Like, slosh it around, and electric guitarists shoot it out of their guitar, and you'd think they'd...
Another reversal. She wants to give herself up. This one, Cheeto, I think is her name.
Yes.
And then at the end, she uses that as a ruse to help them out. You know?
There's lots of that in this film.
Well, because when you're doing a film that's mostly action and not dialogue, you've got to figure out, and also with so many characters, you've got to figure out very efficient ways to show change and to show character. It's one of the things that makes it such a well-made movie is it's so smart with that stuff. There is also a very male symbolic thing with bullets and with guns.
Yes.
You know, there's something suggestive said by one of the wives about bullets and guns, and then they're referred to as anti-seed.
Yeah.
That you know, so there is, I guess I can see, if you were really digging into it, you could think, oh, they're saying that a lot of male things are destructive. But can we be fair and say that, like you were saying, a lot of things in history, male things are kind of destructive?
Yeah, I don't. You can't say that, like. But for the most part, men have been the ones that have started the big wars. You know.
Something I find interesting with George Miller along those lines is he is kind of, and I heard Kevin Smith say this the first time, so it's not original, but he's kind of the James Cameron of Australia because he's about smart action and really strong central female characters. You know, you look at the Terminator films with Sarah Connor, and you know, you look at The Abyss has a very strong female character. It's
this is kind of the part where Nux makes his transition in a way.
Yeah.
But if you notice, the only reason he's really transitioning is because he failed.
True.
You know,
and there's an attractive red-haired girl who's helping him through with it. Yeah, but
which definitely helps you along the way.
I love the whole symbolism of the paint too, which I'm not fully understanding, but like it's like they're painting their grills of a car, right?
Everything's car worship.
Yeah.
And it's chrome. Yeah. And also I'm sure it gets them high right before they kill themselves. So
I like those guys.
For Best Supporting Actor, Larry and Barry the Tombers. Yes.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that he is transitioning now that he's failed.
Well, also the first affection really that he's been shown probably his whole life.
Ooh, that's big too. Yeah.
I mean, right there, you have the music cue and everything that said he's being affected by compassion here.
And this is also, oh yeah, that was the part you were just barely talking about.
Yeah.
But back to what you were saying, Brian, how this is the first time he's probably failed too.
Yeah.
You know, he's never felt these emotions. He's always been like, let's go go fast, you know, blow stuff up and go fast.
It's interesting that his, what would you call it? His arc, in some ways, is very similar to the Stormtrooper guy in the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know, there's this...
Yeah.
Although it's different, but we're seeing some of that recently that I guess the world is mired with groups that want to corrupt young men. And so we're telling stories about you don't have to go that way.
This night
how the
scene
nighttime scenes look in black and white.
It's way cool.
Because they're very blue in the other one. In this, they just kind of look like nighttime. So,
it's almost like you can see it better.
yeah, it's a little clearer, too, it seems like. Oh, look at that. This wide shot of them stuck in the mire and all the lights from the...
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that's cool. Boom. Oh, no. Can't drive around those two wrecked cars. Hey, and the Doof Warrior's got his own light, too. Just so he can keep playing.
I like how he's like, okay.
And as the cars slow down, he starts, okay.
Go.
Ah, I didn't notice that before. That's disturbing. The people eater has nipple piercings.
Yes, you never noticed that before?
No.
Horrifying. The people eater is probably the most disgusting character, I think.
And I thought that this was going to be a lot gorier, the birth scene, than it ended up being. I was worried about that, but...
See, in this whole birth scene, it makes me kind of think that maybe she wasn't dead.
Yeah.
But that also shows how... Because when Mad Max, they tell him to turn the rig around, he has a flashback of the little girl.
Yes.
And he's not going to do that again. These
No.
people are relying on him, and how many times has he had, oh, they die. So that's kind of interesting.
He does such a good job as a doctor there.
Ugh.
Yeah, that could have been way worse.
Yeah.
For an R rating, like...
But it was also in good taste, too, I think. Not making it...
Besides just throwing a baby down on a table.
Exactly.
And
Right,
flipping
I mean,
the umbilical cord around, like
Or
it's
like-
a slinky. But yeah.
How they could have made it so much worse, you know?
This is the first time the wives are having to work on stuff and trying to jam things under the wheel to get it out of the wet sand. And
The tracks are having no problems.
yeah.
This nice scene, it just looks so much better, I feel.
You don't like the blue as much?
I don't...
I gotta watch
I
the
don't
darn thing
know.
again and
Oh,
color
yeah.
down.
But I know that this seems so much better because you can see it so much better, I feel.
Yeah.
Get stuck again.
I like the moment where Max is trying to shoot at them far off, and he realizes that Furios is a better shot and gives the gun over.
He's like, I like how she's calling it out too.
He looks slightly annoyed.
Yeah.
Yes. She's right there behind him.
She's like, okay, take it.
It's amazing how much Tom Hardy conveyed that I didn't catch in the color
Imagine
version.
the hearing right there.
That was great.
I like how
he was really scared, looking for a second too,
Yeah.
and trying to stay still. Yeah.
When he talks about the tree thing,
Yeah.
and how she corrects him, it makes you. Oh, this is a hardcore scene right here too. Ugh. But when he's like the tree, and she's like he means the tree, you have to think that they're obviously educated.
Yes.
Girls,
yes. Exactly.
And it makes you wonder where they came from before.
Yeah.
Before they got, like, if they got educated when they were at the.
Because Miss Kitty seems like a school teacher kind of a figure.
Person.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder if they came from like important families or something.
That's cool. A nice little reference to the statue of justice,
Mm-hmm. Again, that scene right there showed how like kind of naive they are.
Yeah. We're so important, no one would ever lose their temper and shoot at us.
Like, we're the goods. Like, we don't. But he's totally over you.
But that guy just had his eyes blown off, so yeah, he's not caring as much anymore.
And he didn't care in the first place.
That's true,
like,
yeah.
All this over a family squabble. I like how she starts pushing here. Push!
The one tree left in the world, and they're ripping it down. And again, if you want to get in with this group, then you have to act, in a trustworthy way when you could act otherwise. That's the thing that goes through. The reason they trust Nux now is that he could have betrayed them 3 or 4 times at this point and didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Max doesn't get a lot of really cool, like, badass moments, but this is one of them that he actually does get.
Yeah, that's true.
Goes off, takes care of things, and comes back.
It would be interesting to see like a deleted scene of like him doing all this stuff. That'd be kind of.
I'm
cool.
sure they never filmed it. It
No,
seems like it's
definitely
designed
not.
to, leave
Oh
it a
yeah,
mystery.
definitely. But it'd be kind of cool to see that, That scene right there is really neat looking.
Yeah, anytime you get like a wider shot of the war rig, it really helps with the black and white.
The war rig's so cool looking too.
It has a real iconic shape,
Yeah.
which comes across in the black and white.
There are more trees.
That's true. And some birds.
I like how he comes back up with the steering wheel.
Mm.
Yeah, because, again, it's very practical.
He's like, well, we need this.
And if you want to get symbolic, I don't know if it gets a little more overtly symbolic than washing blood off with breast milk.
Yep.
You know.
See, what is interesting to me is where do they get the breast milk and water? Like, is there like a separator?
I don't know. Well, it's in a little bowl.
There are different valves.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Mother's milk.
I like that he knows what it is, and then he goes for it anyway. Splash it around.
Milk? Yeah, cool.
These guys are something else. The guys on the stilts. I don't know what's going on there. Always weirded me out.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
That's probably what it's for, right? Just creep factor. But
I would think so.
I mean, if you think about it practically, they are walking through a muddy swamp, and so it does elevate them.
Yeah.
They almost look bird-like, flamingos or storks or something in a swamp.
The eye bulging of the first.
That's from the first film, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Why'd you leave?
And that's about as much backstory as you get. Is I'm from the green place, and I was stolen. That hints at the fact that she's looking for something like redemption, that she's done things in the service of Immortan Joe that are guilt-inducing.
And then it is interesting that it went to Nux right after that.
Mm.
And then he eats the bug, and you're like, oh, good.
I just wonder if she's, I don't think she probably feels bad for running gasoline for him. I wonder if the reason she collects the wives and steals them is because she's kidnapped girls for him before.
Oh, that could be.
Huh.
And that's the reason she feels so compelled to free all of them.
Yeah,
because she's done that.
Because we know that from child soldier things and stuff, what do you do after you become a child soldier? Well, you help abduct other child soldiers, and you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, then also, she was kidnapped too.
So I think she's kidnapped, maybe used as a wife until she's a little older, and then, or loses an arm, or who knows what, and then she becomes somebody who does things like that, and this is her whole chance to try and reverse that.
Yeah. When she comes down the rope later, that part is always rope burn.
Yes. Well, I didn't notice this on the black and white either. On the tower where she's there, they have a bunch of mirrors hanging off of it to further draw people's eyes.
Yep. Yeah.
Also not subtle.
They do a very good job at keeping unmentionables covered.
The naughty bits covered, yes.
Yeah, very. Good editing. Again. And these hardcore old ladies.
Ow.
Like how rope burn. That's all I'm saying. It's not like it's nice little smooth rope either. Why does she feel the need to be naked anyways?
You can't see from that distance.
Yeah, right? I don't know. interesting hug. See, I like how there's like, since the world is gone,
Yeah.
there's so like much religious type stuff in it.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. And that's the thing I want to make a point of is you could be tempted to say the film is anti-religious, but this group is a very positive group that has their own religious and their own.
And it's not really necessarily. I guess I put it towards religion because that's kind of what I know, but it's just like traditions in a way, you know.
Yeah. You notice that she says, "Okay, my mother died." They all do their little thing.
Yeah.
You'll notice during the last battle when some of them get shot.
Yeah,
they do
the
that.
same thing.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
it's interesting that the one old lady is inspecting the wife like she's a cow, like her teeth, and what kind of shape are her teeth in. Oh,
well,
here's for the big reveal of the movie. We've all been going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting moment when she realizes that, basically her whole life and all of her hope is gone. She does have one moment of like, it's one of the iconic shots in the movie when she falls down. And
what I think is interesting too is a little behind the scenes trivia, if you will. I was listening to an interview with her, and she said that it was a rough shoot that day.
Yeah.
Like they broke down, and they're in the middle of the Nambian desert. They broke down, and she just wants to get back to her trailer. And they're like, "Okay, do this shot." And she's like, "Yeah, I had put a little extra
just
into
get
it."
it all out.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting.
But her character's interesting because she takes a moment to freak out on the universe and
she's
how
like, okay.
uncaring it is, and then it's like, okay, what do we do now?
She's like, "Okay, let's get back to business." Yeah.
And that's cool. Starfield in black and white.
Yeah, the night looks so good. It'd be really interesting to see what Mad Max was like, but like before all this happened, because of how caring he is. It'd be interesting.
Well, that's kind of what the first film's about. The first film is pre-apocalypse, really. I mean, things are starting to go bad.
Yeah.
But they still have... His wife goes and buys ice cream at one point in that movie. It's not the same thing.
No.
Some of these older biker women, you look at their faces and
Oh yeah,
they're like a landscape, especially in black and white.
So, little trivia about Abby Lee, not specific to Mad Max, but she's a supermodel. Like, legitimately, she's, done the whole fashion scene.
I think several of the wives aren't they?
You're thinking of a different one. You're thinking of Splendid.
No, Abby Lee's a supermodel.
He's got a thing.
She's Australian.
The other one is too. The other one,
So there must
Splendid
be
is
one
too.
more, yeah.
I
And
forget
the
her
main
name.
one. Or you know what, Splendid?
Splendid is the main
Yeah,
one.
she's a supermodel. That girl's a supermodel. One of them is Lenny Kravitz's daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the darker, short-haired one.
And one of them is Elvis Presley's granddaughter. So you got to be a model or the offspring of a musician to be a wife. I mean, this is definitely the end of Act 2, where everything goes wrong, and you know everything you've been working for falls apart, and we're taking a moment to breathe. And the thing I like about the structure of the film is it really gains momentum towards the end. After this, when they decide to go back, it just doesn't stop after that, and it just goes right until the end, and then just boom, it's over. I really admire that, especially when we live in a world where it seems like every movie has to be 3 hours long and has to have 5 endings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This night does look a little different than 10 minutes ago, doesn't it? Like,
does.
it looks more... It doesn't look as natural night.
It looks day for nighty.
Yeah, it does.
Which I didn't notice in the color version.
No.
I do like the fact that Tom
Day for
Hardy...
nighty. I like that adjective.
That Tom Hardy in this scene has a really big cowlick. You know, like, I mean, you never wash your hair, you never anything else, it's going to look gross. I like that lack of vanity. It really helps with the stuff in the distance that's tiny in the black and white version.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see detail.
A little foreshadowing.
I like. Everybody talks about Max doesn't like have a role in the story, and it would all happen without him. And I heard somebody else say that he didn't have a character. I totally disagree. He has a huge arc. I think
it couldn't happen without him.
No, because he convinces him to go back here.
Well, like, he convinces him to go back there, but he also gets him out of the way of Imor and Joe.
Mm.
They would have gotten caught if it wasn't for him, I think.
So, but I like Max's arc because he's very solitary. I mean, that opening shot, one lone man against the whole... It's my favorite shot in the movie, actually, is the opening shot.
Yeah.
Against this, and he learns, and he's running away from people.
Mm-hmm.
He's running away from any kind of connection and commitment because it's been so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the movie, he learns to... Because this is the moment when he could let him go. And he's been looking for this the whole time, right? That he can have resources, what he needs, and no people to worry about.
Yep.
And what does he do? He goes after him. So that's his arc. He learns to value connection versus not.
Well, his biggest thing before was he would try and help those people, and they'd all die.
Yes.
And so then he's like, I'm not gonna do that anymore because look where it's got me.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, it's kind of interesting how he's gone back to that because that's him.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Popcorn kernel.
This is also the classic. We've got to explain what's going to be happening at the end of the film. This is we're looking at the plans of the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got to run down the trench here, and you got to do this, and this is the video in Titanic showing how it cracked in half and sunk at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, you can enjoy the action or keep up with it if it's all been explained to you beforehand.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he really like jacked his hair up. They must have like really
Must
like
have. It doesn't look like a wig.
because he's got like nasty like by his ear extra long hairs right there.
It's like it got cut by somebody who didn't have the right tools and didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the movie.
I don't know what Immortan Joe's doing here, but he's worse. He's mourning his stick thing.
Oh,
and freaking people eater.
Elephantitis man.
Well, everyone's like, what? Bollocks. You're so gross.
I don't know, whatever weird Australian guy agreed to play the people eater, but imagine if you were his kids or his grandkids. Oh, there's Daddy.
Well, I'm sure he just says, okay, here's $100. Just forget about that.
That's right.
Well, with a leg like that, he can't probably star in anything else.
It's a callback to Road Warrior.
Yep.
The little music box, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Her praying. This is pretty cool. I like that.
Someone has a cell phone in this movie.
What?
That is also a callback to the first and second film. That real love for that car that he has, you know. In the first film, it's the last of the V8s, I think, or one of the last of the V8s.
Yeah, I think that's what they say.
There's a lot of them in this movie, but
yes, there are.
So is he blowing nitrous into the engine?
I think it's just gasoline.
Oh, okay. Oh, he swallowed a little gas there.
I like that scene right there.
Where Nux' buddy is laying back on the hood.
Yeah, that's cool. That's I love that.
It's a spitting contest into the engine. This is one of my favorite shots when she brings the rifle back up and sits back on it. I know, she's cool.
Good job. Way to go, Max. He's like, oh.
He asked him, are you a black thumb?
I think
Because that's
so.
like the difference between a green thumb and a black thumb is you're good with cars, I guess.
I guess. It's interesting.
I also like this fact that they have all their own language, and they don't care if you know what it means or not.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not explained.
No explanation.
That always feels forced in a movie when it's like, oh, a black thumb is, you know, like when they explain stuff.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Destroyed. This part, I like this part. I can't see.
This shot right here, I love that shot.
Ugh.
The people eater's gonna get her.
Ugh.
Oh. And the
The
pure
face-
enjoyment.
the face that
is
he makes.
sickening.
Yep.
I like that little moment there where they do the religious thing.
Yeah. You pull it down.
I like the fact that I said nobody's a superhero in this movie. Some people are skilled at certain things, but everybody has people that die in the movie. There's no, you know.
Makes it much more realistic.
Yeah.
So I was reading that this was shot in sequence, which is
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yes. Well, the vehicles as well. It's hard to bring a vehicle back after they've exploded it.
That's true.
That's true. There'd be some major continuity errors with there.
Yeah. And again, this is how you do action. I mean, you tell everybody what's going to happen. You build the scene up. Right now, they're just desperately trying to stop them, drag them down. And then you get the pole people, and that brings it up a notch. And, it almost moves in movements like a symphony, this last action scene.
Ugh.
Yeah, here come the pole people.
They actually did this, too,
I know.
which is amazing. I never noticed how it went focused in on him at that part either.
Kind of irised him.
Yeah.
I was always disturbed by the guy on the pole with the chainsaw. That was...
I've seen worse from people cutting down trees, believe me.
You can see his rib cage better there.
Wow.
The texture on her face almost looks like that skull. The skull steering wheel.
Oh, yeah, it does. There's
the lines through it.
Yeah.
So she's close to dying.
And that shot with all the heat coming up with all the poles back and forth, that's incredible.
Ugh. Hey.
He shoots him with the cleaning rod, yeah.
The ramrod. I think it's crazy. It actually hits him in the face. Oh.
And here you see the counterweights on them and stuff. Yeah. And you're seeing that actress's face as she's being pulled up on the pole. I know that Tom Hardy did one of the pole gags himself.
Ugh, there's a little chunk in his head.
It's a little gorier in black and white somehow.
I agree.
It's interesting because Hitchcock made Psycho black and white, so it'd be less violent. And it seems more violent in black and white this time.
Ugh. I feel that scene right there is more intense in color.
Mm.
When she gets stabbed.
Yeah.
Maybe because your brain has just been
assaulted by that point.
Yeah.
With too much color. See, and again, this has movements.
I find it very interesting that they have that car hauler hauling all the broken down ones.
Because this whole last action scene is kind of a 3-act structure too.
Yeah.
And finally, we're going to see the death of Max's car.
Yep. The music of this part too is really
it's
good.
That theme.
Yep.
Really cool.
They make you hate the people eater guy because he's so gross, and then he plows down the really cool Valkyrie lady, and then you want him to get,
just destroyed.
I love that too when he slams the arrow out of his hand by hitting it against the door. Yeah, that's cool. You notice that the People Eater's gear shift is a gun.
Ugh, through the eye. So hardcore.
I really hope that whoever's listening to this is watching it at the same time.
Yeah.
Get more out of it that way.
Yeah. It's our first one. It might be kind of boring.
Now this gag here, when they blow up the People Eater's car, Tom Hardy gets on the big pole. He really did that.
Yes.
They filmed it here, right here, when he goes up and the explosion's behind him or whatever. In a minute, he did that on the pole, but that was filmed separately from the explosion.
Yeah.
Because it's not crazy enough to have him on the pole.
Yeah.
You gotta
they
have
weren't
that behind
actually.
him.
He wasn't actually moving. It was
Right.
like just a pole that was going around. I think it's interesting that they show it from these guys' perspective too.
The bicycle or the bike guys, yeah. I also like the fact that they're just sitting around. One's got his shoes off.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, so no worries. The Doofwagon, so cool. He actually has a really cool backstory, the Doof Warrior.
Well, we got time.
He's a real musician, isn't he?
No, like the actual Doof Warrior, not the guy that played
in the
him.
mythology of the film.
Yeah. He was. Do you remember the story, Cody? I'm probably gonna mess it up a little bit, but he was kidnapped by Immortan Joe, correct?
Yeah.
And his mom died. And
Immortan
Joe
killed his mom in front of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was really sad, so Immortan Joe cut his mom's face off and made his mask for him.
So his mask is his mother's face cut off.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Pretty interesting.
I also love that we get a fight with the Doof Warrior on bungee cords.
Yeah.
And the guitar becomes a weapon.
Ugh.
And you finally see his face, yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, and the son's name is Rictus Erectus.
Yeah.
References cavemen and, you know.
I don't know how you guys remember all these names. Seriously.
I just said it.
Because we...
I had a mouthful of popcorn. I wasn't paying attention.
Ugh.
And I think Charlize Theron, as Imperator Furiosa, is one of the few women that's actually kind of scary on screen when she needs to be.
That part
actually
is
intimidating.
just so icky when he shoots him in the back of the head and the little pellets are in the back of his head. Ugh. Oh, this part is so intense. Remember me.
Oh.
I think she just ripped his face off.
Yes.
Yeah.
His face is gone. Yep. I think that's interesting that they showed Nux' face there, because
this is like
what's going
still
through his mind?
he can actually die, you know.
Yeah,
and I know he's been turning away from it, but
that's still his whole life, you know.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
You know, Immortan Joe can't die. That's it's in his name.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the only time he doesn't want to kill himself.
Yeah,
you know,
right? He has something to look forward to, really look forward to now. She's a pretty good driver driving that with not even in the driver's seat. That's pretty intense.
But you notice, see, this is the same musical cue, and he says the same thing about "Witness Me."
They actually wrecked the. They actually
Wasn't
did this.
This amazing stunt guy who'd worked for decades. This was his last stunt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is he wrecked this?
Yeah, they actually wrecked the war rig.
And in 3D, it felt like all this stuff was coming at you. I remember that.
Yep.
Jesus, take the wheel.
And I remember when in theaters, I was like, "Wow, what a great film!" And then, wait, what?
It's not over.
There's more. It's a pretty horrible noise that she's making there.
Well, that's you know, George Miller was a doctor, an emergency room doctor before he
yes.
was a director. So a lot of the medical stuff, I'm sure, has some credibility. He pops the lung here or something.
Yeah, he puts the so she can breathe better or something like that. I like that when he's like, "I am so sorry."
When the universe is on her side, because there's a universal donor right there.
Yeah. I wondered that too. Like, that worked out good.
That's what I said at the beginning, you know. For all the a-holes who pick it apart at the end. Wait a minute, blood type.
What I find interesting is that they have the technology to know that he's a universal donor.
You're the next level of a-hole.
Great point, Bryce.
Interesting. Yeah, like you said earlier, how he doesn't talk much because he's probably lost a lot of like his speech, and you can kind of tell right there when he's saying his name that he like doesn't really know English or speech very well.
I wonder how the tearing up of Morton's body will be in black and white. Everybody's like pulling off a chicken leg, you know.
It's pretty hardcore in color, so I imagine it'll be pretty hardcore too. I really like how they think that it's Immortan Joe coming back.
His body's cooking on top of the...
Yeah, you can see that. It's so gross. All the war pups. And that dude. I wonder if you'll be able to see his face gore a lot better. Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
yes.
That's a little...
Yes. The answer is yes. I love how they just flip it off. It's like they do not care. And like, how crazy is that? They're probably going to eat him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, ugh.
See?
Ugh.
And that little guy's going to get eaten too, I think.
I think so.
It's either pulling off flank steaks and stuff there. That's...
Ugh. It's very stuff. He just knows that. I like how the I guess you'd call them milk ladies or whatever.
Yeah.
How they're like,
they're the ones that let the water out.
Yeah.
Again, there's got to be a better way to distribute that stuff, though. I mean,
just like pouring it out everywhere.
There's some of the gnarliest looking extras in any movie.
They're like, we'll shave you. They're all happy and stuff. I find that hilarious. Maybe instead of just letting it all gush out, you just have like a stream.
Yeah, I know. Visually, it looks cool, but
you're gonna run out real quick.
Yeah.
All those people are just gonna drown because it floods so fast. One of the two.
Look at that extra in the background. My gosh. I don't know.
Like, how do you advertise that? We need hideous, ugly people to come be.
If you are ugly.
It's also a great cue that ends the movie, music-wise.
Yeah.
Well, just how, and I also like how Max just disappears into the crowd.
Yeah.
I
I heard a lot of people were really ticked off about that too.
I thought it was perfect.
It makes it's Mad Max.
Yeah, it's perfect. Plus, we know that he's signed on to do 3 more films. So.
Yes.
Let's hope you take the same amount of time in between.
Well, I'll be
yeah.
dead.
He's going to be a
George Miller will be 105, and well.
So that is Mad Max Fury Road.
Our first commentary. Please excuse the roughness. Some interesting thoughts in there, though.
But we hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think, so that we can improve and become better at this. Yeah, Mad Max Fury Road, Black and Chrome Edition.